Coming up on 60 Minutes. No one has bigger balls than Beckham.
Oh, they're pretty tiny in my opinion.
For years, David Beckham said he wasn't naughty.
I'm very happily married.
I felt hook, line and sinker.
A denial that's infuriated Rebecca Lowe.
I'm going up against the most powerful couple, and all I had on my side was the truth.
Next. According to Rebecca Lowe, David Beckham was not only a player on the field, he was one off it as well. Back in 2004, the then 26-year-old publicly admitted that when she was the soccer superstar's personal assistant, they had a torrid affair. At the time, and unusually for such an attacking footballer, Beckham was defensive. He pleaded it was ludicrous to suggest he was unfaithful to his Spice Girl wife, Victoria. The denial infuriated Rebecca Lowe. It implied she'd lied. Eventually, anger gave way to resignation. But then 2 years ago, a rather vainglorious David Beckham obliquely referenced the liaison in a Netflix documentary. Rebecca says his comments were an own goal that's now given her a free kick to strike back. Quiet time is precious for Rebecca Lowe. It's the best way she can, albeit briefly, forget the mayhem in her life that's all too often been defined by headlines.
Britain's best-known sportsman had an affair with his former personal assistant, Rebecca Lowe.
From unknown to unavoidable, Rebecca's turmoil began more than 20 years ago. She says she had no option but to out herself as the other woman in the marriage of soccer superstar David Beckham and his equally famous wife, Posh Spice, Victoria Beckham.
The chemistry between David and I was so strong that everyone was aware, and people weren't happy, obviously, because I was being very unprofessional, and he's a married man.
If you could have a conversation with your 26-year-old self, what would you say to her?
I would tell her that she's going to be all right. I'm going to cry. I'll tell her she's going to be okay and she will find love and happiness. Yeah.
What makes you cry right now?
I think remembering the tough times. Yeah. There's a lot of darkness to that world as well, a lot of loneliness.
If ever proof was needed that collateral damage is a likely consequence when the private lives of public people are exposed, then this is surely it.
The Beckhams have actively marketed their union as a marriage made in heaven.
For 2 decades, David Beckham has rejected suggestions he ever had an affair with Rebecca, which is exactly why she feels she must speak. With every denial, her frustration, indeed infuriation, has grown.
Did you have a day or a moment that you remember where you sat there and you went, I just wish this never happened?
I wish that I had maybe been a bit smarter in the way, the decisions I had made. Definitely had some moments like that, but things were done the way they were done, and you just have to learn from it.
If Rebecca could have her time over, many things would probably be different. Most importantly, she might have said no when David Beckham hired her as his personal assistant, following his move to Spain in 2003 to play football for Real Madrid. But then again, maybe she wouldn't have.
You know, David Beckham's a very charismatic guy. He's, very, very charismatic. He's kind and he's caring, and he really made me feel special. Like, he seemed like a very sort of caring boss.
How did Victoria take that attention towards you?
I'm not sure I received that much attention when she was there, and she would come and go. So when they were in Madrid, it was, you're the first person they see in the morning and the last person they see in the evening.
Rebecca says Victoria was out of town the first time David made a move on her in a nightclub.
He just said to me, you know, we were talking about it was a bit boring, and he said, oh, let's go back to the hotel. And I said, what do you mean? He said, let's go back to my hotel. And I was like, I'm not going back to your hotel room. Like, come on, you're my boss, f*** off. I think I actually said that to him. I actually said, f*** off, no way. And then he just kept looking at me, and then I gave in. So we went back to his hotel room.
What was the moment that you were like, I'm going to go?
Oh, it's just look in his eyes and the way he looks at you, and it's quite hard not to. He's got a certain charismatic power about him. He's very good looking, and I think he can easily get what he wants, and he knows it.
If you had to sum up that night, how would you do it?
I woke up with the biggest smile on my face. I also woke up thinking, oh, you know, I'm in their room. And I took a shower, and in the shower that also Victoria uses when she's there. So I also felt that was it didn't feel very right at the same time that I had this big smile on my face. And I snuck out and went home. And I was living with my parents at the time. And my mother was like, oh, where did you sleep? And I just didn't say anything, but she could just tell by my face that I'd had a really good night. And then she just looked at me and she just said, be careful. So from then on, it was a big secret I kept, and no one knew about it except for, obviously, David.
And during this time, are you thinking to yourself, I shouldn't be doing this?
Yes, absolutely. It was naughty, and I did feel that it was wrong, but at the same time, I was, you know, hooked.
How many times did it happen?
I can't remember, just a few times, I think.
While Rebecca's memory has perhaps conveniently faded on the fine details of her steamy encounters with David Beckham, she has kept text messages from the time. We're not allowed to reveal them, but I can tell you very little was left to the imagination. I've seen the text messages that he sent to you.
Yeah.
He was into you.
It was. Yeah.
They're pretty intimate.
They are pretty intimate. We had a pretty intimate relationship.
Intimate and intense. Rebecca admits she was infatuated, but says almost as quickly the pleasure turned to pain.
You know, he told me he'd never done this before, and I was the first one, all the, you know, cliche things.
Did you believe him?
I believed him 100%. I fell hook, line, and sinker for every single cliche line he fed me. And then 2 weeks later, we were at Ronaldo's birthday party, and, you know, he's off with this beautiful model. And I was like, that was a hard night for me. That was like, I don't understand. And realization started to hit me that I've been massively played.
And it was about to get even harder for Rebecca Lowes. Her secret relationship became global gossip when these photos of David Beckham partying with his personal assistant were leaked to the media. You realise there's photos.
Yeah.
What are you thinking?
To my horror, I received a phone call saying that there's photographs. I think it was News of the World that called me saying there were photographs of David and I in a nightclub that were going to be front page news. Of course, I panicked. This was my job. This was I panicked big time. And I remember I called his mother, and she said to me, she was a very, very nice and approachable person. And we had good communication. And she said to me, oh, you never know how bad it is until the pictures are out. So just take a deep breath and see tomorrow what happens.
This is what happened.
Allegations of extramarital affairs have consumed acres of newsprint.
A media frenzy. The affair led British news for days on end.
The News of the World, which printed the detailed allegation, said it stood by its story 100%.
Personal, brutal attacks on Rebecca, which she says left her with no choice but to come clean about her side of the story.
I went to visit him at his hotel room before a match, and I was very excited to see him. And it was literally in, you know, clothes off, get the action done, and out within sort of half an hour. And I left there feeling absolutely, I felt like a whore. I felt really cheap. I felt used. And I said, I'm not even, why am I doing this? Why am I putting myself through this? Because emotionally, I've been through a lot.
So why did you go back?
Because there were still feelings there, I suppose. I adore him. I still do. Still do.
Why did you speak out publicly?
I always had the opinion of it's better that it comes from me and that I have some sort of control. And also by doing that, it was a way of me sort of not getting back at him, but just sort of, yeah, I just kind of felt the way he treated me was very unfair, what he was getting away with, and that two-faced life. And I felt that I know how much his image means to him. I just kind of wanted to make him feel some pain too, I guess. I don't know, it sounds very vindictive to say, but when you're 26 years old, it's how you react to heartache and pain.
And then you realise that David is just deny. How does that sit with you?
I thought he would have come forward with a statement or something and just apologised or something, but I think the fact that he referred to my claims as ludicrous, that just pissed me off even more. It makes you want to stand up for yourself, and it makes you want to keep coming forward.
Even today, it seems hell hath no fury like this scorned lover. Coming up, the Beckham documentary that reignited Rebecca Lowe's fury.
It was the first time that me and Victoria had been put under that kind of pressure in our marriage.
I got the whole homewrecker thing again. Oh, you're a homewrecker. And then I just went, whoa, hold on a minute.
Soccer and Spice, posing for pictures after announcing their engagement.
You don't see Rebecca Lowe's face or hear her name in Netflix's 2023 David Beckham documentary. But fans of the football superstar know she's the one he's talking about.
There was some horrible stories that were difficult to deal with.
It's an irritating watch for Rebecca, who thought her affair with David Beckham back in 2003 was well and truly behind them both.
I never one second thought that they would touch on this. So I was in the oblivion when suddenly my phone started calling and ringing. And
Did you just think to yourself, here we go again?
first I was like, oh, what has been said? What has he said? Because he's never really ever accepted anything publicly. He's always gone with a legal phrase where he referred to my allegations as being ludicrous. Now, things can be true, but they can be ludicrous. Ludicrous doesn't mean that I'm lying, or it's a very clever term used by lawyers to deflect.
Victoria's everything to me. To see her hurt was incredibly difficult.
While Rebecca isn't afraid to talk about Beckham, he, not so much when it comes to his former PA. Even 20 years on, David and his wife Victoria still try to dance around the topic.
Of course, you know, I'm very happily married and I've got a beautiful wife and 2 gorgeous children, so, you know, I'm very happy.
Thoughts?
Yes. You're not going to open up your secret sides, are you?
It was the first time that me and Victoria had been put under that kind of pressure in our marriage.
What are you thinking when you see this?
I'm thinking maybe he should think twice before he does what he does if he's worried about if this is how the outcome is for him. That's what I'm thinking.
He's still saying the same thing 20 years after the fact.
Yeah. It's insane. It's crazy. There were loads of horrible stories. There were horrible stories about me. There were horrible stories about his wife, Victoria. There were never horrible stories about him. He was golden balls. He was the man. Pat him on the back. Well, hey, good for you. Nothing changed in his life. But it was all Victoria's fault, my fault. All the blame was on us.
100%. It was the hardest period for us because it felt like the world was against us. And here's the thing, we were against each other, if I'm being completely honest.
Did you feel bad for Victoria and the kids?
Yes, I did. Of course I did. I think we just live in a very unfair world, unfortunately, for women when it comes to these sorts of things. You know, men sleep around and they're big old cool heroes. We sleep around and we're sluts. It's just the world we're in.
But back then, there's no denying Rebecca saw the opportunity that came with her newfound fame and ran with it.
We met each other at a party.
She was controversially paired with Princess Diana's lover, James Hewitt, on a singing show.
You're really quite flirtatious, aren't you? So we have that in common.
We do indeed.
Yeah.
You have had a profile that you wouldn't have had if you didn't have this scandal.
Absolutely. I was like, oh, that sounds fun. Obviously, these things are super fun when you're young and single and, you know, so I did that. And then I became a bit of a cover girl and Playboy got in touch and wanted to have me on the cover. And I was like, oh, wow, yes, I'd love to be on the cover of Playboy. So it kind of snowballed into this world where I did, after 4 years, wonder, what am I doing?
Minor celebrity is fleeting. And as Rebecca's public profile started to fade, she struggled to cope.
It was hard. And when I was down, I was very, very down and very lonely. And back in the days, it wasn't trendy to speak about mental health. You didn't feel you could go and just say to someone, hey, I need to talk. It was something you battled with.
How much do you think the affair impacted your mental health?
You know, I went up against England's favourite son. So it was a harsh environment to go up against. I think all of that impacted my mental health in a way that it was quite traumatic, but I didn't admit to it being traumatic because I wanted to be brave and strong. But, you know, some of it seeped through and got to me. And that has taken time to recover from.
A big part of that recovery is thanks to her family. Rebecca is now married to a doctor and they have 2 teenage boys together. She works as a medical assistant and teaches yoga. The one thing she says helped her through the dark days.
And it's just the wonderful reminder it gives me to slow down in life and to just breathe and to check in with myself. It's very, very important.
While Rebecca wishes she'd handled things differently, she'd never take back her time with David Beckham. She says it's her mistakes that make her who she is today.
Trying to let it go as best as I can. The yogi in me. But it's a big part of my life, a big part of my journey. And if somebody tries to bring me down and smear me, I'm gonna have to stand up for myself. I think I always will.
People used to say, no one has bigger balls than Beckham.
Oh, they're pretty tiny in my opinion.
You spoke up.
Yeah, in my opinion, it was a very brave thing to do, to go up against them. I have stuck to the truth. I've never exaggerated. I've never lied about a single thing. Why? Because I'm going up against the strongest, most powerful couple in the media who have all the money in the world for the best PR, the best lawyers. And all I had on my side was the truth.
Hello, I'm Dimity Clancey. Thanks for watching 60 Minutes Australia. Subscribe to our channel now for brand new stories and exclusive clips every week. And don't miss out on our extra minute segments and full episodes of 60 Minutes on 9now.com.au and the 9Now app.